Recent case law we talked about at the picnic about the frivolous victory.
You know, I could and would, and it's an important subject, but it will have very little meaning for most people here without a lot of backstory context. I will give it in real brief summation. The IRS, since Cracking the Code was published and since people began enforcing the law as it's actually written and recovering their money, there's been a scramble to try and discourage this activity, because while they can't stop it directly, because it is the law, they don't want people to do it. And one of the chief mechanisms for that discouragement effort has been the implementation of hoaxed frivolous return penalties. There is a portion of law that provides for a return that's based on a false or frivolous grounds to be subject to a penalty in order to discourage people from making those kind of returns. Actual returns that are based on the excise tax are not obviously frivolous, they're correct. They can't be actually subject to this penalty because they can't, but because the IRS wants to discourage them anyway. It has created a fake list of frivolous positions, and it resorts to this fake list and threatens these penalties against people filing educated tax returns. Just recently, the case that Don is referring to, about 3 weeks ago, an educated filer, for what may be the first time to actually for anyone to do so, actually got into the appeals level in regard to one of these frivolous penalty assertions, made correct arguments about the issue, and had the appeals court throw up its hands and say, right, your return's not frivolous, we're done here, go. And this was a fairly dramatic admission. It was, it only supplements the admission that 200,000 complete refunds, including Social Security and Medicare, constitutes, but it was a significant one nonetheless. So, this lady.
Have you considered training a legion of activists on this presentation and then taking it to cities and state governments all over the state of Michigan?
I thought that's what you all signed up for.
Where can I sign up? Yeah.
That's a great question.
Well, it is a great question, but that was a serious answer, actually. I mean, I know you didn't all sign up for that, but that's what this is all about. I put the information together and I put it out there, and I then have to count on other people to help spread it. The thing I ended with, I'm not going to switch back to it, but share this information fast, far, and wide. That's what needs to be done. And bad guys in positions of power are going to continue to do bad things until they're surrounded by people who know that they're doing bad things. Because that's how it works. They're political animals. They go where the wind is blowing. As long as they're being allowed to set the sail and control the direction of the wind, they're going to do that because it's to their advantage to do it. And they are your competitors. They are not they're working for you. Don't ever suffer under the delusion that anybody that you put in office, no matter who, and no matter how much you like them, Pat Colbeck, Donald Trump, if you were an Obama fan, Obama, I'm saying that because he had plenty of fans. Trust me, he had a huge number of fans. And there are none of those people are saints or angels. There is no such thing as a saint or angel in power. They are your competitor. They want to make money off of you, or at your expense, one way or another. They're banking a salary. They're putting their kids through college. They're doing all the things. They're living nicely. You're paying for it.
That's right.
Now that doesn't mean that some of them might not have altruistic motives, but don't try and take that to the bank, because that check's not going to clear. There's no faith that can be put in the political class or any political actor or any official or anyone holding an appointed office or an elected office to do, to solve your problems for you. That is simply not going to happen. The only solution to problems that involve government, not government actors, they are to keep government so small that it can't hurt you too much. That's the only solution to the problem of government. You keep it so small that when it does wrong, the harm is not, total. It's not, it doesn't drag everybody over the cliff with it. That was what the founders understood. The founders and the framers, they understood that. They had seen, all pervasive government, and they'd seen government that was mostly all pervasive, and some that was, they were students of history. They studied this. They said, here, this is where the problem is. This is where the problem is. We don't create a government in order to be told what to do. We create a government to protect us as we do what we want to do. That's all it's for. It's just to keep other people from interfering with us, and it doesn't succeed in accomplishing that goal by interfering with us itself. The least that it does, the better for the purposes for which government is created. That's what government is instituted among men, to protect their rights, to do what they wish. So I'm asking you all to spread this, like your liberty depends on it, because your liberty does depend on it.
Business? Or as a business?
Government work, the gains one makes from government work are privileges. Those are the gains from privileges. Obviously, no one has a right to work for Uncle Sam any more than they have a right to work for you.
But don't they claim if you're in fraudulent reserve notes and you're getting paid in fraudulent reserve notes, that you're getting paid by the government? I mean, it's all involved with the banking system.
Actually, taking Federal Reserve notes in exchange for your labor, you're actually taking a loss. And you're taking something that has a diminishing value over the course of time. There's no gain involved there.
I agree.
So it isn't a question of I agree. This is a legal matter. There is no gain.
It doesn't belong back.
For something that qualifies income, not only does it have to qualify as a privilege, as a consequence of a privileged activity, it actually has to be gainful as well. This is a well-settled issue of law. There actually does have to be a gain. But the privilege that's involved here isn't things like, well, the government protects the shores, so I'm able to, conduct my business because they're, the battleships are out there. It's not that. It's not because they build roads. It's not because they print money. It's not because they let you be a citizen or anything like that. None of those things relate to the privilege. This is much more vulgar. It's much more cut and dried. It's really overt stuff. If you mine, you get a lease to mine on government lands and extract ore and sell the ore. That's the use of a government privilege that's taxable. If you work for them, that's a privilege that's taxable. If you get their welfare benefits, if you receive Social Security, that's taxable. None of that other stuff is the kind of privilege that it isn't a privilege in the first place. Anything that they do because they're obliged to do it, because the Constitution requires them to do it, isn't a privilege. That's their job.
Pete, Social Security is our own money, though.
Exactly, that's a
No,
good
it's not.
question.
It's not.
Can they double tax that?
It's not. Social Security, when you pay Social Security taxes, that money goes right into the Treasury, the general fund, just like any other money that they take in. It gets dumped right into the same box. The fact that there's talk about lockbox and trust funds and all that crap, that's just crap. It's just talk.
Pay taxes on it is all I'm saying.
Well, no, but see, when you get it back, when you paid the tax, you're just paying a tax. You don't have to. Don doesn't pay that tax. I don't either. Brian doesn't pay that tax. You don't have to pay that tax. That tax does not apply to you because you don't do privileged things. Well, actually, I can't say that for anybody in particular, but if you don't do the privileged things, you don't have to pay that tax.
Well,
if you do the privileged
there's an exclusion too in terms of like the Social Security benefits that you receive.
well, the benefits, there's the point I'm trying to make though. The benefits and the tax are two completely separate things.
Right.
They have nothing to do with each other. If the government wants you to think that they do. They sold this thing on the basis that it was an insurance program. Well, let me ask you something. If it's an insurance program, once you've done your 40 quarters, you know about how the Social Security works? If you've got 40 quarters, the payments, you're vested at that point, and you get your benefits and all that. Well, if you're vested, why are you still paying it?
Yeah.
You're not. There's no vestiture at all. That's just it's a fiction. It's baloney. Okay, it was sold that way. You're sold a bill of goods. And so, when the tax gets paid, you're getting paid just for, the tax applies to exactly the same activity that the general income tax applies to. It's exactly the same thing. In the case of Social Security, Medicare, it only applies to the first 108,000 of the payments for the activities, the taxable activities. And the part above that doesn't get charged those surtaxes. But it's the same activity. So you're just paying income tax when you pay Social Security. Now, when you get the benefit, you're just getting welfare.
Yeah.
You just apply, you say, I'm 65 or whatever, and I would like, to get a stipend from the government. And you guys are offering it, so I'm, and I can say that I qualify because I did, you took the tax from me for 40 quarters, which is what you say is the requirement. Congress could change that to owning a blue Volkswagen as the requirement. And then you could go, and some of us, maybe, well, not me, but some maybe could go in and say, hey, I own a blue Volkswagen, so I qualify for that benefit. And they'd say, yeah, absolutely, here's your first check, and, or whatever. They could say anything. Or they could say, you know what, we're not paying this benefit anymore.
Yep.
We're not offering this welfare. It was a cool idea, and we got a lot of money came in, because you people thought it was insurance, but we're not going to do it anymore. They could do that, and there isn't a legal thing that anybody could do about it because there is no legal connection between that welfare payment and any tax that got paid. None whatsoever. So, okay, we'll do a couple more questions. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, you were mentioning that the Social Security is welfare and therefore it's taxable. What about your retirement?
You mean a private pension?
Yeah, private pension.
Not at all, not unless the activities that, from which those payments were diverted qualified for the tax.
Yes, if they weren't covered.
Yeah. No. A pension has the same legal character as the original payments from which it is of which it is a deferred payment. Because that's all a pension typically is. In a legal sense, in one way or another, a pension is just a deferral of money that you would have had coming to you otherwise in the instant moment. Instead, you're saying we're going to either put that aside either directly or as a credit in some fashion or other, or a balance off in some fashion or another that I will be able to collect later. It's the same legal thing.
One of the phrases that you were talking about, like income, now would profit be taxable but not income? Say for instance you were self-employed.
Self-employment is actually a technical term in the law, so use it with care. People who work for themselves are, in most cases, not self-employed in the context of the tax. But profit, in and of itself, independently of what it proceeds from, isn't calculable as income. The issue is whether you're doing something that is privileged in the first place. If you're doing something federally privileged and you make a profit at doing it, the profit certainly was the income. But for that matter, anything you make from doing it is a measure of how much of it you did. The tax never falls on the actual money itself. It doesn't fall on the profit either. The tax falls on the activity. But the amount of the activity that you've done is measured by how many dollars it produces. And Congress has allowed for some amount of the expenses involved in doing it to be written off against it. And what's left qualifies, as the gain that they'll actually apply the tax to. And you can call that profit.
I'm just going to give a short testimonial. I got a hold of Pete's book a number of years ago. I've been filing the CTC educated returns since 2008. Yes, the IRS has, quote, communicated with me. And I went to Pete's book and I went to Pete's website where the resources were, and I communicated back to the IRS and sent them away with a spanking. Come on, people, I earn approximately six-figure income. I've been doing that since 2008. So that's what, 8, 9, okay, so there's $1 million that has been what has come in. You guys have paid zero income tax. Are you guys paying income taxes on what you're bringing in your house? How does that make you feel? $1 million through my front door, not a nickel.
Wonderful. God bless you.
Not a nickel.
I said you're here with Don. Don is upholding the law. Don is a law-respecting person. He knows what the law is, and he is upholding it. He is acting on its behalf. And he's doing it in frankly, a fashion that, is a little scary. It's a little scary because we've all been trained to be afraid of standing up against the IRS that wants you to treat everything that comes in as income, as though it's something they get to take a piece of. That you go out and you do your work and you sweat and you put in your creativity and they say, well, we get a piece of that. we get a piece of that action? No, they don't. They don't. They do not have a claim to a piece of that action. Our law says they don't. It's not that, they don't because they shouldn't. The law says they don't.
The law is there, now the case law, that people, it's time to light the grass fire. This young lady that's talking about how do I take charts and go to city governments and everything, the first thing you do is you become a CTC educated filer. And when everybody in this country becomes a CTC educated filer and quits sending all their money to the government, when you all start doing that, the beast runs out of money, and his curve there that shows the size of the government going up like a hockey stick falls right back down to 10% or below where it belongs. I've been doing it since 2008. I'm sitting right here. His website and his book, and it has everything you need. The first time they contacted me, I was a little nervous and a little scared, and I used his method, what I was taught, and I replied back, and then I said, I won. And then my fear of them went totally away, understanding what the law was, how to refute what they were talking about. Because I am not afraid of the IRS. And every time they send me anything, I spank them and shove it right back up their rear end and tell them to get out of my face. And they go away, people. Come on. Get his book. Because this is incredibly simple.
Very powerful, very simple.
Once you understand it. And this with what's out there and the number of people doing it and the case laws, that I keep telling people it's time to light the grass fire. The grass fire. The grass fire. The grass fire. The grass fire.